Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, founder of Be Better Media and a mom of 4, passionate about human connection. I was so honored to sit down this week with Benita Fitzgerald-Mosley, University of Tennessee track star and 1984 gold medalist in the 100-meter hurdles. With her own daughter beginning her career at the University of Maryland this fall, we talked about raising athletes, the lessons learned through sports, and how to communicate with coaches. Then we got into her passion for her job at League Apps, which gives better opportunities and communication for youth athletes across the country. What an honor it was to chat with this athlete for life. Well, I am so honored to be here today with you, Benita. I was a child of the '84 Olympics, and it was the first Olympics that I remember. My mom swears I was glued to the 76 games, but I don't remember that. So 84 was really the year that I became an absolute just fan of every Olympic story and the backstory behind all the athletes. And as much
that's when
as
they first started doing the behind the scenes and all that with ABC. Up close and personal, I think they called it.
Yes, and that, I mean, I remember watching that and just gravitating towards those stories. So I'm really, really honored that you are here today to share your story with What I Meant to Say. And I would love to just, dig in and find out like what led you in your early life to expose you to athletics and track and field. And let's just start there.
I am the daughter of 2 educators, and they were really adamant that my younger sister and I try all different kinds of extracurricular activities, certainly focused on our schoolwork and getting good grades, but they knew and saw the value of being involved in sports and music and other types of activities. So I think between, first grade and maybe 6th or 7th grade, I tried several different instruments, piano and violin, and finally landed on flute. I tried majorettes and softball and a little bit of basketball and gymnastics, and finally ended up with track. And so by 7th grade, I was on the gymnastics team, tall, lanky kid, so never going to be a great gymnast. Scored really low on all my competitions, but it was, a middle school that really didn't cut people. So I was on the team and enjoyed it, took private lessons in the whole 9 yards. And our middle school teacher, Coach Gwen Washington, friend of the family, our mothers were friends and colleagues. And she said, Benita, I see that you beat all the boys in middle school. You're faster than all the boys. You should come out for the track team. Thank God she kind of did that nice little pivot for me. And I went out for track that fall of my 7th grade year. So at 12 years old. And, I never looked back. I mean, I won all my races the first year. I certainly fell a couple times in the hurdles, but that was my sport. I kept on doing gymnastics for another year until I finished middle school, but that she set me on my way. So that was really it. I'm just fortunate that my parents obliged me and all my different interests until I could find the thing or things that really resonated, or that I really had a talent for in music and sports. And I'm just really, really fortunate.
Yeah.
And of course, that Coach Washington, put the puzzle pieces together for me.
Absolutely. And that is one of my favorite things to watch. And I know you believe that too, but just that the knowledge that comes from good coaches and how that they really can set athletes along the path that helps them.
I had all female coaches.
Really?
With the exception of the sprint coaches in college and after, like my actual hurdle coach. But the head coach in college, the head coach in 2 different head coaches in high school, my head coach in middle school, all females.
That's fabulous.
And great role models, wonderful women. I'm still friends with all of them today.
I'm still friends with my high school volleyball coach. It's one of my favorite relationships. I love
same here.
Yeah, I look back on that and go, wow, she was 25. She was just
Yeah,
out of
same,
college,
same,
right?
same.
And
Yes,
now she's a contemporary almost. But in
yeah,
those days, I was looking back going, she was such a authority figure, and now we're all friends. So
yeah.
it's really great. We did a bunch of Zooms during COVID, and it's such an amazing thing because obviously you've been to the top of your sport, but the relationships that we build with the people along
It
the way
doesn't
are,
matter. Yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's a integral part of who we are and how we develop. And I was just with my college coach last week in Eugene and hung out with her three different times. I was there
wow,
only there 5 days, but yeah, we went to lunch or breakfast, I guess it was, and we went. She was doing a coaching clinic, so I hung out at the clinic for a couple
very cool.
afternoons. And
And
I
so
had my daughter.
you did your college athletic experience was at the University of Tennessee,
Yes, it was. I'm
right?
a Lady
And
Vol.
what
Mhm.
was what was your coach's name?
Terry Crawford.
Terry Crawford. Yeah, I know that
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Legendary. So what were some of what were some of your favorite qualities in her?
Well, when we first got on, well, I met her as a high schooler,
Mhm.
obviously, but early high school because we would go from Virginia to Tennessee for their Tom Black Track Classic every year. It was a high school meet, brought kids from all of the Southeast and the East Coast. And so we went every year. We took the long van trip, from Virginia, a select number of our high school team. And so Terry took notice of me right away. And I'm sure that was a major reason why they hosted the meet. It was a great recruiting opportunity for them.
Sure.
And I got to know her a little bit then. But I remember getting on campus first, week or so of school. And, it's the first adult I ever called by their first name. She's like, "Oh, I'm Terry, not Coach Crawford, not Coach Terry, Terry." And so at 18 years old, to be able to call this, she's probably late 20s, early 30s, uh, by their first name, I just thought it made me feel grown, and it put us on more of a level playing field. Not that she wasn't the authority because she was very much in command of that team and
Hmm.
the culture of the team and decision making and all that. But she made it so that we looked upon her more as a friend, as a mother figure, sister figure. You know what I mean? Somebody who was there for
Yeah.
us and more of a peer like relationship. And so that I think set the culture for the team in a really positive way.
Yeah, that feels like there's a real female energy to that coaching spirit. And
Yeah.
how do you think she was able to maintain that line between that authority figure and really
Oh,
being,
you never questioned. Yeah,
yeah,
she didn't. She was friendly, and we were just talking about whenever we'd go to the Millrose games in the winter or other meets. So she would pluck the two or three of us that were national level, world class athletes, and she would make sure we got to the best competition that she could get us to, in addition to the collegiate stuff that we were doing. And sometimes in lieu of a dual meet or something, we would
wow.
go to another competition, and she would go with us. And she said, I remember every year we'd go to New York, we'd run in the garden once, twice a year. And we'd end up every time, taking our little per diem money. We might go get some McDonald's, but we take our little per diem money and go down the street to Macy's and do a little shopping. And she and I were just reminiscing of how much fun that was. So she made great decisions. We won the national championship when I was a sophomore. We were ranked top 2 or 3 in the nation every year. We had an amazing group of young women. We're all still connected. And Joetta Clark was on my team, and Talitha Diggs is her daughter. And my
Wow.
daughter's going to Maryland next in the fall, and her daughter's at Florida, made the world championship team, got a gold medal in the 4x4. And so the four of us and Terry were all together, and
Oh
it was just,
gosh.
the
That's amazing.
legacy continues.
I
Yeah.
love watching this generations and I love watching athletic genes because
Yeah.
it's incredible to
It's
see.
a thing.
Yeah, oh, it is for sure a thing. And
Yeah.
it's so fun to watch because
Yeah.
especially when you have learned all the lessons that you've learned through sports and then you're able to pass those on.
Hmm.
And I know you've been, integral and I can through your story with Title IX and this being the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Tell me how that has impacted your athletic career, and then watching your daughter go where she is, maybe some of the things that you've seen through her generation.
Well, Title IX passed as I entered middle school. So those middle school sports experiences that I had as a gymnast, as a track and field athlete, having a coach like Coach Washington, all made possible because of Title IX. And not only the law itself, but the school district that I was in that fully embraced equal opportunities for girls in sport. I never felt growing up that I had any fewer opportunities. I just took advantage of everything that was made available. And my parents certainly made themselves aware of those opportunities and unveiled them to us. And we we were just very fortunate. And get to high school. Gosh, the high school head coach, Ann Lockett, my freshman year, we won our fourth straight state championship in track and
Wow.
field. So she had already coached three by the time I got there. We got our fourth straight. And then she coached a gymnastics team and the basketball team to state championships.
Oh my
So we
goodness.
had a softball team. We had all kinds of different sports at high school. Again, the high school girls were equal to the boys. It never felt like on the track team in particular, since it's co-ed, that
Yeah.
the boys had any advantage over us. And I don't know. It was a great sports environment. Our school had a bunch of great athletes come out. In fact, we've had 3 track and field Olympians from my high school.
What's the name of your high school?
Garfield Senior High School in
Okay.
Woodbridge, Virginia. Yeah.
Pretty
So
legendary.
yeah. So it was just a law that transformed girls' sports, and uh, if it weren't for sport, most of the benefits, most of the things that have happened in my life would have happened. And so I call my gold medal and my sports participation the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, I have 4 kids, and I always say, like, my athletic journey even really has been a heavy influence in the way I parent, because
Hmm.
you learn so many things coming through difficult times. You're when your body's stressed, your mind, how to calm your mind, how to
Oh
all of the
yeah.
things that you learn in sports that you really are able to translate to so many different areas of your life.
Yeah. Keeping your cool through ups and downs, um, and just, I think too, appreciating the good times when you have them, because sometimes people might take those those highs for granted. And as an athlete, you're only as good as your last race in many cases, or game or match or whatever. And yeah, I scored however many kills in that match, or I ran a school record, and guess what, next week somebody broke your school record. Somebody,
Yeah.
you didn't qualify for the final, or you know what I mean, you
Yeah,
got
oh,
injured.
absolutely.
So it's all kinds of things that can happen in any given, and you can't be on the roller coaster ride. You have to somehow maintain an even keel. Certainly embrace and appreciate the good times, but you can't get too super low during the bad
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. I'm wondering, one of my things that I really like to focus on is this intersection between parents, coaches, and athletes. And being that you've been all three at some point,
Mhm.
do you have any advice for parents out there, as to like how you raised your daughter, or how we can improve the communication in that sector?
Mhm. It's nice when you have 2 parents, I have to say. My husband and I have, both for our older son and our daughter, have played a bit of good cop, bad cop sometimes with the coaches. I
Okay.
maintain usually the strong relationship with the coach, texting them and, nice and everything else. And my husband is the one that comes in and says, blah, 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 or has that sidebar conversation with the coach when something's going awry. And it has kept a nice balance in our family. My daughter can always depend on me to kind of be there by her side, be her advocate. My husband is too, don't get me wrong. But in those cases, particularly, she's had all male coaches except for one.
Okay.
So many times it's mano a mano, better for my husband to have those uh, conversations. And so, with her high school track coach in particular, a couple times that was just necessary, just to ensure that she got what she needed and we were able to keep things going for her. This COVID situation was so tough.
Oh,
Talk about communication, that you had to take advantage of every opportunity because there were so few opportunities for those kids, particularly in 2020 and 2021.
yeah. I was having a conversation with another athlete and a coach, mom yesterday that, and we were talking about that very thing. My son was in the class of 2020, so his freshman year was going
Uh,
into being an athlete at Stanford, and, um, not being able to go on campus, not that just really not knowing, where things were
I
going.
can't even, I
It's
can't even
it,
imagine.
it was a
Mm.
real challenge, and we were talking about how to use, talk about a resilient story that that generation's going to have.
Oh, I
But
know,
it
having
was
gone through
really
all that. Yeah, my son, for the most part, is just, since 2020, just been going to school virtually. It's just, he's had some other kind of health challenges, and so it made it easier. So sometimes there's a silver lining. He's a
absolutely,
senior and he'll graduate in the spring, and it's mainly because he's able to have this backup plan to
yeah.
continue at Morehouse College where he's going to school. So yeah, I think my parenting for her in particular, my husband took more of the lead with my son playing basketball, but he ran track as well. But I think for my daughter, I stepped in as her kind of doing all the recruiting,
Uh-huh.
um, facilitation, and so that's a different kind of coach parent athlete relationship when you're trying to find that magic fit, for your child. And my advice really for parents as your kids are entering their junior year, and certainly before November 1st when they're applying to all these schools, is to be very involved. I know we often like to just say, oh, we need to teach them some responsibility and the follow-up and the emails out and the this and the that. But I found that, I still have the login to her email, and sometimes she's practicing, she's, got AP classes, she's got competitions, she's trying to have some semblance of a, itty bitty social life. And so there needs to be a partnership from what do the kids want, where are they trying to go, what schools are they interested in. For me, my coach Terry told me, don't tender any school where you don't know the coach. And so a lot of that onus was on me after she identified the types of schools, the school level of school and all that. Then it's down on me. Do I know the coach? Do I not know the coach? Do I want to outreach? Who do you outreach to first? All of that. And ends up, a former teammate's going to be your coach, Andrew Valman.
That's that's
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah. And
University of Maryland.
obviously you have that knowledge having gone through
Right. So
that.
I certainly have an advantage that the vast majority of parents don't have. But my point though is that there's many scholarships and opportunities for these kids, both academic and athletic. And most coaches like to make some combination of financial aid, um, scholarship, academic scholarship, and athletic scholarship because they can make their athletic money go that much further. And so the onus then is on the parent and the child to ensure that they're applying for all the ways that they might be able to help get their school, paid for and
Yes.
covered. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really good point, and I don't think it's not easy to get that information if you don't dig.
If you don't
Yeah.
dig. And the parents also tend to think, well, if my kid's good enough, the coaches will come to me, come to my child. No, they don't know there's tens of thousands, some cases, a couple million kids playing that sport. How are they supposed to fare through all those kids? They won't know that
Absolutely.
A, who you are, or B, that you are actually interested in their school unless you tell them.
Yes. I remember distinctly my son sitting down with a coach and that coach being very honest about, we want to be your first choice. And so for that athlete to also learn how to know kind of where their mind is and be able to be honest in that, because
Mhm.
it is a fit, right?
Oh,
And
that's true.
yeah.
That's true. And then, my daughter tends to be more on the shy side. And so all of those calls with coaches and having to ask questions and doing the official visits and, not having me by her side. She's got to go off with the team and hang out with the coach. And, but that, she said she matured so much in that process and, started to come into her own, gave her a
Yeah.
lot of confidence, helped her get over some of her social kind of anxiety. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great learning opportunity for her.
Well, it sounds like you manage that balance really well, because it's a fine line with,
It is.
pushing them just enough and
Yeah.
but also being that really strong source of support. So
Well, I keep on telling them this is my scholarship. Because, and I don't mean it from the standpoint of controlling it. I mean it, the more money you get, the less money I pay.
right.
And so I have literally have a vested interest in ensuring that we maximize all the opportunities. And so when you allow those opportunities to falter because people didn't follow up, you didn't read your email, you didn't,
Mhm.
apply in time, whatever, that's money out of the family's pocket that really didn't have to happen. And that, I mean, certainly if you're wealthy and can afford, it doesn't matter, then I'm not really talking to you. But most of us,
Yeah,
whether
college,
you, yeah,
it's a big expenditure.
tucked
Yeah.
away money or not, if you don't have to spend it, it's all the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're working hard for it. And if they have the
Mhm.
talent and the drive to get there.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways, how did you help your daughter guide her towards the type of school beyond knowing the
Um,
coach?
she had
What
done some
qualities?
visits with my son.
Mm-hmm.
Just just kind of school visit kind of stuff, not official visits. And so she got to get a feel. But if I'm being honest, she'll tell you she did not have a clue what kind of school. She didn't have a dream school.
Mm-hmm.
She hadn't heard of most colleges. She didn't understand D1, D2, D3. She all of that knowledge. She had a huge learning curve, and she had a very concentrated amount of time in the fall when she started trying to get herself up to speed. And so what she thought, I won't say, she stuck to her guns that she wanted a big school, she wanted a football team, didn't want an urban environment, she wanted more of a closed in campus feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the final analysis, that's what she got with Maryland,
Yeah.
right? But it was a windy road to get there because she'd been playing volleyball and not concentrating on track. She didn't have, and because of COVID, she didn't
Mhm.
have the marks that a lot of kids did that started running at 8 years old. And so there was a lot of faith that people put in the fact that she is the daughter of an Olympian, that her times were dropping so precipitously, and that, looking at her and her athletic ability all the way around, yeah, she's somebody that is worth taking a risk on, and kind of as a development project, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, how much are they going to invest in that? Is it a full scholarship? Is it less than that? Whatever. And it ran the gamut as to
Mhm.
what kind of offer she got. But she found out that she had to open up her purview a little bit just to get the offers coming in, and then she could make a more informed decision. So, regardless of what the kids think they want, sometimes they just don't know. And so I would suggest having a variety of schools. Oh, I really want to be a big school. I really want to be a top tier, like a Power 5 school. Well, go to some tier 2 D1 schools. Go to some really small D1 schools. Go to some bigger D2 schools. Go to some D3 schools that maybe you just got to get academic money for because you're not going to get athletic scholarship. And have them visit a variety of places because they might just surprise themselves.
Yeah. And I do think that when you get to that one place, there is a different feeling to when you find like, oh, this might be it.
Yeah.
Did you feel that type of feeling when you found Tennessee?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a different era. You couldn't do 5 or 6 visits. You had to do 3
Yeah.
that they could pay for. Or maybe actually back then it was AIAW. It wasn't even NCAA when I first got to college. It happened while I was in college. They wouldn't pay for your travel. You paid for your own travel. So whereas I had 60 or 70 at full scholarship offers, I went to Tennessee, UVA, and Penn State because they were driving distance. And
Uh-huh.
So those are my 3 official visits that,
Okay.
I maxed it out. And because I had been going to the school every year for this track meet, I felt very comfortable. I'd go to UVA 2 or 3 times a year too for meets, but I think I loved Coach Craddock. God rest his soul, but I really felt like Tennessee was the place for me.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this chat as much as I am. For more great content, courses, and lifestyle, go to bebettermedia.tv. That's amazing.
And in hindsight, going back to Title IX, Tennessee was one of the first, I think, D1 programs to really hit the map in women's sports, and that in large part because of Pat Summit.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Absolute legend of a coach.
yeah, she
Yeah.
was. But the thing is, track and field women won our first national championship at the University of Tennessee.
Okay.
And we did it before Pat. And so,
Wow.
we had a legacy of amazing women's sports at Tennessee across the board, not just basketball.
Yeah. Did you have much contact, or did you know Pat Summit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
the last time I saw her, I was the keynote commencement speaker in 2011 or 2012, and it was the winter. They have such a big school that in the spring they have graduations per school,
Yes.
and in the winter they have the all-in-one graduation for kind of midway through the year. So it's thousands of kids graduating. It was fun. It was in the Thomas Bowling Arena, and it was the middle of basketball season, or the beginning of basketball season, and they were preparing for a preseason tournament. And Pat had several girls graduating, and so she went to the graduation and heard me speak. And so afterwards, they had done a reception at the basketball training venue. And I looked down and she waved at me and waved me down. So I went down on the court. And this is right as they had announced that she had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And I was worried that she wasn't going to remember me. When she smiled and waved, I was like, oh, I gotta get down there and get my hug,
Yeah.
And so, she passed just a few short years later. I mean, it took her really fast.
Yeah.
So that was one of my fondest memories of Pat Summit.
That's amazing. Yeah, she's an absolute legend of a coach. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
so many speeches and things you can look back on that she said that have influenced so many people. And
Mhm.
so tell me a little bit about how your transition from Tennessee to the Olympic Games went.
Yeah, so I was on my first Olympic team as a freshman at Tennessee
Wow.
in 1980. It was a Moscow Olympics, and Russia had invaded Afghanistan, and so President Carter boycotted those games, and our team was unable to compete. So, as an 18-year-old, newbie in the sport,
Give
it was so unfortunate not to get my first Olympic experience at that time. I was one of the three hurdlers that made the team that year. I was the only one to make the Olympic team 4 years later. It's none of that's guaranteed. You don't get grandfathered in.
Yeah.
And we, had to do Olympic trials and made the Olympic team and won the gold medal. But it was a few weeks before, when I was training at Tennessee, that I just had this epiphany that I had in the past. We'd only had one ever world championships in track and field the year before, and I had gotten 8th place, made the final, but I got an 8th. Long story short, I had always been thinking when I was in these competitions, because if you might recall, I was in the era of the East German, Russian, Eastern Bloc countries doping, and those women were kind of a force to be reckoned with. And so you didn't have this confidence going into a meet that you would be able to compete at that same level necessarily. Certainly make the final, certainly run fast, but not necessarily win. And so I've been thinking about that, and finally realized, gosh, if a handful of those countries, which they did, boycotted, then that opened the playing field up for those of us who were not doping. And so it was an amazing opportunity for me to envision myself on the victory stand. Why not me?
Yeah.
I asked myself, why not me with the gold medal? Why not me with the victory stand? Why not me take the victory lap, cross the finish line first. And so I was able to win the gold medal. It was felt like a self-fulfilling prophecy because I had envisioned that and kind of claimed that medal several weeks before. And it was while I was on the track at practice at Tennessee that kind of change occurred for me.
Is that the first time you had practiced that like type of visualization?
No, I had done visualization a lot.
Okay, yeah.
Because my dad was my guidance counselor in high school. He studied a lot of those techniques back in the 70s and early 80s, and he passed that all along to me. Power positive thinking and visualization and all those things. So I use those techniques a lot. But in that particular case, certainly at the state meet or at the NCAA championships or the US championships, I felt like I was on a level playing field. But many times these other international competitions, it wasn't there. And they weren't doing the anti-doping testing and things at the same level they are today. They started that the latter part of my career.
Okay. Yeah, that does, I mean, it makes a huge difference because now we look back.
Well, they actually started at the 84 games.
They did. Okay.
Yeah. So all of us were drug tested at those games, and they had done some non-punitive drug testing right before. So for some people that tested positive, they just didn't compete.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So it was kind of like they were kind of phasing it in because I never knew I've never heard that term non-punitive. So
that was a whole different level. So it didn't last long.
Okay. Yeah. So from the 84 games, how have you stayed involved with the Olympic movement over the years?
In every way possible.
I can imagine. It's just such an incredible force in this world.
Volunteer as advocating for Title IX with the Women's Sports Foundation as their board chair, working twice for the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, chief of sport for USA Track and Field, chief operating officer at U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. I was director of Olympic training centers for them earlier on in my career, and lots of boards. I will soon be sworn in, which I've never had to do before, for the U.S. Senate Commission on the State of the Olympics and Paralympics. I was appointed a year and a half ago, and because government moves at government's pace, we are just being sworn in this month.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That just gave me the chills.
Our charge is just 16 of us, and half of us are athletes. And my teammate Evan Moses is on there with me. Another teammate, Nancy Hogshead Makar.
I'm such a fan.
Yeah, she's on the.
She is legendary.
There's a couple Paralympic athletes. And then some policymakers, former senators and Congress people and business people. So there are 16 of us. We'll all be sworn in this month and then start our work, I think, soon thereafter. It's the next iteration of looking at the Olympic and Amateur Sports Act that was passed originally in 1978 that really ushered in this latest era of the Olympic movement, and where professional athletes can compete, where people can make money, and growing these individual sport national governing bodies where they used to all be under this AAU umbrella. So all of that happened in 78, a lot of transformation, a lot of kind of revolutionary change. And I think the movement is poised for a new revolution, particularly as it relates to athlete health and well-being.
That's amazing to hear that's underfoot, and obviously such an important that story is coming through so important from the professional levels to Olympic down to our college athletes and even high school kids, and learning how to take care of ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, and how that actually makes you a better athlete.
Yes.
And then also beyond that, the identity that we have beyond being an athlete, and how to be a better human and a healthier human, so that we can all connect together in whatever we're good at.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's inspiring. And those are some really great minds to hear that are behind that. So that makes me really excited.
Of course, now at League Apps, I'm the vice president of community and impact and
Yeah,
president of
let's get into that. Tell people
and
what League Apps is
yeah,
about.
League Apps is a esports management technology platform. So for organizers of clubs and teams and leagues and tournaments, they're able to do registration, all the back end organization. So registration and scheduling and payments. You can even, purchase uniforms and all that kind of stuff. Websites. It's the app for your phone where you communicate with coaches and players and parents. And so all of those communication tools, all of those organization tools, connects with Salesforce, so your database is integrated. It connects with background check companies, it connects with insurance companies, travel companies. So all of that's integrated into one platform. So what we do through Fun Play, and I'm the president of our philanthropic arm of the organization, is provide that software platform for free to organizations supporting kids in underserved communities with free or reduced programming. So
Okay.
everybody has access to youth sports. And so there are hundreds of these organizations across the country, some serving, 50, 60, 100 kids, and some serving thousands of kids. And so we have 150 organizations on our platform now that we are giving a free perpetual license to our software. And they're serving now a total of almost 400,000 kids.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
and when you talk about the growth in youth sports and that ability for parents, coaches, and athletes to communicate and make that interface easier, I mean that's fundamental. And as crazy as our lives are these days, and a lot of people have multiple kids and they're all playing
Yeah.
different sports, it's like that is as a mom of four, that sounds very foundational to making sports more just easier to integrate into our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing you said that grabbed my attention there is I've often thought about this intersection of, as club sports have become more
More
kind
of
of
a
like a
business.
landing place for kids at younger and younger ages. I didn't
Yeah.
play a club sport till I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And now, you got kids 10 years
I
old
was
that are
I was a junior.
okay, yeah. And that there's the financial outlay from a young age is so
So
big.
big, it's huge. And the travel, I was advocating for a new indoor athletic facility in our county here. And I was talking about equity and access being an issue related to the travel that's required for kids to get to competitions. And I said, there's a whole lot of kids who can't afford, to go every weekend to a different tournament or track meet. And by having a facility close by and bringing in that top talent close by and in our backyards, those kids then have the opportunity to compete against the best, be showcased in front of college coaches, and have more opportunities to continue past high school. And I said, between January and March, this was early April, just during the indoor track season, we paid about $10,000 for travel,
Yep.
hotels,
Yeah.
fees, food, etc.
Yeah.
Um, and I said, what families? There aren't a lot of families who could outlay that kind of cash for their kids. But we were focused on helping her get to the best competition.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you look at all of the lessons that, even youth sports as young, like you want that access to be there when they're young because their character starts getting developed from the things that they can do. And if we're cutting off access, or if they don't have that same access,
Right.
that gap is just getting wider and wider. And
So many sports, so many lessons. As we started this conversation, life lessons are learned, and so many benefits accrue to kids who participate at young ages. I was just seeing a recent statistic. Not always, but for a long time, EY, the Women's Sports Foundation, and others have talked about women executives in Fortune 500 companies.
yes.
Over 90% of them played sports when they were younger. Well, the same is true for the men that are CEOs of those Fortune 500 companies. The vast majority of them played sports growing up. And so there's something to be said for the lessons that you learn and how they prepare you to have a successful life off the track and off the field.
Yeah, absolutely. So with League Apps, what are you seeing a growth in all sports across the board? Are
Oh,
you
it's been
seeing
crazy.
certain sports that kind of are highlighted,
Oh,
or just
all.
all of them?
Everything is just back with a vengeance, with the exception, of course, of the smallest organizations and those operating in underserved communities. Those were the slowest to come back. More of them, were shut down during COVID and since were gone out of business. And so what we saw was this huge widening of the discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots. And so this Fund Play program is certainly geared towards those smaller organizations, but again, those that are providing this free or reduced cost programming, and they're sports-based youth development programs. So they're using sport as a tool for youth development and community development. And so they're not only teaching the X's and O's of the sport, but they're also providing education support, immigration support, employment opportunities, tutoring, etc.
Wow.
So that those kids, very deliberately are taught the life lessons that you can gain through sport. It's not an accident.
Wow. Wow. How long have you guys been around? I mean, when did
League Apps is a mid-stage growth stage startup. We've
Okay.
actually doubled in size in the less than 2 years that I've been here, and so it's great to see the technology being adopted and the organization growing.
That's amazing. So as far as sounds like you have a very full schedule, but are there places where are you out speaking these days or
Yeah, I am, but I don't think most of it's like live streamed or anything like that.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I very soon will be doing the all the. This is one exception. In a couple of weeks, doing the Warrior Games
Oh,
uh,
oh,
broadcast for ESPN for the track and field competition. That'll be on August 25th
okay. Where are those taking place?
in Orlando.
Okay.
Wild Sports, yeah.
Fantastic. I love it. Are you and then what are one of your hopes, your daughter heading into that same area? What are some of your
Yeah,
hopes
my
for her
hope
college
is,
career?
she ran in her indoor and outdoor season in 2022, ran 16 personal best times. So that's where she's at in her development, where there's just so much upside for her. And I just want to see her get into a program that nurtures her natural ability, that keeps her inspired and, ignites her passion for the sport and continues to, allow her to do right now what's just going to naturally happen. The more better, instruction she gets, the better she's enjoying it, the more she'll apply herself, and those times and performances will certainly follow.
That's fantastic. That's going to be a fun 4 years to watch, I can
Yes,
imagine.
indeed.
Yeah. So one of the questions I love to ask anybody that comes on my podcast, and especially our generation that's in that place of being able to give back from the lessons that we've learned is, what's a piece of advice that you would give to your younger self that maybe the next generation could learn from?
Yeah, I'd go back to why not me? I would encourage people to ask themselves that question when they're faced with an opportunity or a daunting kind of task, or maybe a situation where they normally would think to themselves, oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, I'm not that, yeah, you are. And if you aren't today, what are you doing about it so that you will be as those opportunities arise in the future? And so, just asking yourself, why not me? So encouraging yourself to take those risks and take advantage of those amazing opportunities that I know will come your way.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I always love anything that we do that we're a little bit scared of and push past it, we always get better. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. So where can people find you to connect with you with League Apps and
My main source of social is on LinkedIn, so that's a great way. Going to leagueapps.com and you can look up our Fund Play program under our kind of, I think it's under community or impact section. And when you go there, you'll see a list of all of our grantees. And what I would encourage listeners to do is go there, donate, get involved, find the ones that are in your community, support them, because we want all kids to have access to the benefits of play.
I love it. I love it. We'll make sure all of that gets into the show notes. And I'm just so honored to have had this conversation with you today. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll keep you posted and hopefully you'll help us share this conversation and just keep doing more for youth sports because I love everything that you're involved with. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to What I Meant to Say. If you enjoyed this conversation, you know what to do. Subscribe, rate, review. And for more great content, courses, and lifestyle, go to BeBetterMedia.tv.